My sister banned me from her bridal shower because I'd embarrass her. On the wedding day, she locked herself in the bathroom crying. The only person she allowed in? Me, not her bridesmaids. I'm Mia, 27 years old, female, and last night I couldn't sleep. I was lying in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying everything that's happened with my sister, Claire, 29 years old, female. My hands were shaking so bad I had to sit on them just to feel like I wasn't falling apart. Writing this out is the only thing stopping me from screaming into a pillow right now. Claire is complicated. Always has been. Growing up, she was the golden child. The one who got straight A's, the one our parents bragged about at family gatherings. Meanwhile, I was creative, which was basically code for the one who can't sit still and doesn't follow the rules. We fought constantly as kids, but deep down, I always thought she'd come around, that as adults we'd finally be sisters who had each other's backs. Spoiler, I was wrong. Claire's getting married to Eric, 32 years old, male. He's nice enough, kind of bland honestly, but he treats her well and worships the ground she walks on. Her bridal shower was a few weeks ago. I had been looking forward to it, not because I'm into all the games and gift opening, but because I thought maybe it'd be a chance for us to reconnect before her big day. Instead, she called me the night before and said, "Mia, I don't think you should come. You'll embarrass me." Just like that. No hesitation, no apology. When I asked what she meant, she laughed nervously and said, "You're unpredictable. I don't want you making a scene in front of my friends." My throat went dry. I've done stupid things before, sure. Told a joke at the wrong time, called her out when she was being controlling, but I've never sabotaged her in public. I told her she was being ridiculous, but she cut me off. "This is my day, Mia. Please respect that." So I didn't go. I spent that afternoon sitting on my couch with a glass of wine, scrolling through Instagram while every one of her bridesmaids posted photos of the shower. Claire looked glowing, surrounded by matching pastel dresses and piles of gifts. Not one trace of me. I wanted to cry, but mostly I just felt numb, like I'd been erased from my own sister's life. And here's the part that still makes my blood boil. The next morning, Mom called and said Claire was so brave for setting boundaries with me. Boundaries. As if I'm some wild animal that needed to be fenced out of her perfect little world. I should have seen it as a warning for what was coming on the actual wedding day. But part of me, the stupid hopeful part, still thought maybe things would be different when it really mattered. The wedding week was chaos. Everyone was running around, obsessing over flowers and centerpieces, while I felt like I was orbiting the whole thing at a distance. Claire hadn't exactly uninvited me from the wedding itself. God forbid she deal with the fallout of explaining that to extended family. But she kept me at arm's length every step of the way. When I showed up to the rehearsal dinner, I swear half the room gave me side eyes, like I was the unpredictable cousin who might suddenly grab the mic and start karaoke. Claire had clearly been running her mouth because one of her bridesmaids, Rachel, I think, all teeth and fake tan, leaned over and whispered, "Don't cause any drama, okay?" With this smug little smile. I wanted to punch her straight in the teeth. Eric, to his credit, tried to smooth things over. At one point, he sat next to me and said, "Hey, I'm glad you're here. Claire's just stressed. You know how weddings are." I nodded and forced a smile, but inside I was screaming. Because here's the thing, Claire doesn't just get stressed. She implodes. Always has. High school debate team meltdown, college breakup meltdown, job interview meltdown. Every time I was the one who picked up the pieces. Not mom, not dad, me. And yet somehow I was the liability now? The night before the wedding, Claire called me. I actually thought for half a second she was going to apologize, maybe ask me to come hang out while she got ready, something sisterly. Instead, her voice came through tight and clipped. "Mia, just a reminder. Tomorrow's about me. Please just stay in the background. I don't need you stealing attention." I sat there, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. "I've never tried to steal anything from you, Claire." She sighed like I was exhausting her. "You know what I mean. Just don't make it about you." And then she hung up. I barely slept that night. My stomach was a knot of anger and hurt. I thought about skipping the whole thing, just staying home and letting her have her picture-perfect day without me there as her supposed embarrassment. But then I pictured Eric, Sweet, boring Eric, who had gone out of his way to be kind to me even when Claire wasn't. And I thought about our relatives, who would definitely notice if I bailed. No, I wasn't giving her that satisfaction. So I showed up. I put on the navy dress I'd bought weeks earlier, did my hair, even wore the necklace our grandmother had given us both before she passed away. A matching set, Claire's was gold, mine was silver. I figured maybe, just maybe, Claire would notice and remember we were still sisters under all the bullshit. But when I arrived at the bridal suite, she wouldn't even let me in. One of the bridesmaids, Rachel again, of course, blocked the door and said, "Sorry, this is for the bridal party only." I stood there in the hallway holding her gift, listening to Claire's laughter echo through the door. My chest felt hollow. I handed the wrapped box to Rachel and walked away before I could break down in front of her. And yet, the day wasn't done. Not even close. Because a few hours later, just as the guests were being seated and the photographers were buzzing around, Claire disappeared. When Claire vanished, it was like someone had yanked the emergency brake on the entire wedding. 1 second, the bridesmaids were lining up for photos. The next, Rachel came sprinting down the hallway in heels too high for her IQ, shrieking, "She's gone! Claire's gone!" Eric looked like someone had unplugged his brain. He kept adjusting his tie, pacing by the ceremony arch, whispering, "She wouldn't just leave, right? She wouldn't—" His voice cracked, and for the first time, I realized he actually loved her more than she loved him. That thought stuck in my chest like a splinter. Guests started noticing the delay. Murmurs spread through the crowd, the kind of low buzz that feeds on gossip and makes everyone restless. Mom was already snapping at the wedding planner, demanding answers, while Dad stood frozen with that dumb smile he uses when he wants everyone to think everything's fine. It wasn't fine. Not even close. I slipped away from the chaos because I knew Claire. I knew her patterns, the way she retreats when things spiral out of control. Sure enough, I found her in the women's bathroom on the far side of the venue. I didn't even need to try the door. I could hear her through it. Loud, gut-wrenching sobs that didn't sound like the polished version of crying she usually does for attention. This was raw. The bridesmaids tried to follow me, but Claire's voice cut through her sobbing. Not them, not anyone, just Mia. For a moment, everything inside me went quiet. After weeks of being shut out, dismissed, treated like I was radioactive, suddenly I was the only person she wanted. I slipped inside and locked the door behind me. The bathroom looked like a war zone. Claire was crumpled on the floor in her wedding dress, mascara streaks running down her face, hairpins scattered across the tiles like shrapnel. One of the floral centerpieces had been knocked over, petals and water soaking into her veil. She looked less like a bride and more like a ghost of herself. She looked up at me with bloodshot eyes. "I can't do it." Her voice was small, almost childlike. "Everyone's staring. Everyone expects me to be perfect, and I'm not. I'm not perfect, Mia." I knelt down, careful not to step on the ruined flowers. "Claire, it's not about being perfect. It's about marrying Eric. Do you want him or not?" Her lip trembled, and then she whispered, "I don't even know." And in that moment, my stomach dropped. Because if she meant it, if she was really unsure, this wasn't just cold feet. This was Claire detonating her own life in real time. Outside the door, I could hear Rachel pounding on the wood, shrieking about timelines and photographers. Someone knocked harder, rattling the lock, shouting Claire's name. Claire flinched, covering her ears. "Make them go away, Mia. Please." And here's the kicker. The first flicker of revenge sparked in me right then. After everything she'd put me through, she needed me. Not them. Me. I leaned against the bathroom stall, watching Claire unravel in her $3,000 dress. Her hands were trembling so badly she couldn't even fix the mascara streaks on her face. I'd seen Claire break down before, but never like this. Usually, she cried as performance. Loud, dramatic, demanding the spotlight. But here, it was like she'd finally cracked under the weight of her own perfection act. "Mia," she whispered again, clutching at my arm like a lifeline. "Please don't let them in. They'll judge me. They'll laugh." And I couldn't help it. I let out this bitter little laugh of my own. "Claire, You banned me from your bridal shower because you thought I'd embarrass you. And now you're hiding in a bathroom begging me to save you from your friends? Her eyes filled with fresh tears. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did, I said flatly. My voice surprised even me. It wasn't angry, it was just sharp, clean, like a knife sliding into place. You meant it exactly like that. You've spent months treating me like a liability, like I'm some unpredictable wreck who'll ruin your perfect life. And now look at you. Claire flinched, then broke. She grabbed at the edge of her veil and yanked it off, ripping a seam in the process. The delicate lace tore with an ugly sound. She threw it across the room, then kicked at the overturned flowers like a tantruming child. The glass vase shattered against the wall. Outside, Rachel gasped, and I heard her shriek, "She's breaking things! Somebody get Eric!" That was the moment everything shifted, because now the entire wedding party knew the bride had locked herself in the bathroom, sobbing and smashing decor. The whispers would spread. The perfect facade was already crumbling. I crouched beside Claire, lowering my voice. You wanted to shut me out. You wanted to humiliate me by calling me unpredictable. But right now, you're the one making a scene. You're the one people will remember. Her mascara-streaked face twisted in desperation. Please, Mia, don't let them see me like this. Help me. I sat back on my heels, my heart hammering. For the first time in my life, I realized I had the upper hand with her. She'd built her entire identity on control, of her image, of me, of everything. And now she was begging me to cover for her. A slow, dangerous thought uncoiled in my head. What if I don't save her this time? What if I finally let her reap what she's sown? The pounding on the door grew louder. Eric's voice now, panicked, pleading. Claire, baby, open up, talk to me. But Claire shook her head violently, grabbing both my hands. Not him, not anyone, just you. And that's when I knew. I was about to decide whether to protect her, or finally turn her own spotlight against her. Update: wow. I did not expect this to blow up. I posted yesterday in a haze, honestly just to vent. And now I'm sitting here scrolling through hundreds of comments. Some of y'all are hilarious, like the person who said, Rachel sounds like she runs on iced lattes and malice. Dead accurate. Others told me to burn the whole wedding down metaphorically, and a few not so metaphorically. And then there were people who DM'd me saying Claire is manipulative, narcissistic, and using me as her emotional mop. Which, yeah, that hit. So here's what happened after my last post. The bathroom turned into ground zero. Eric was outside, practically begging through the door. Rachel kept yelling about timelines, threatening to fix things herself. Guests were whispering. And me? I was just sitting there watching Claire crumble, realizing for the first time she needed me. She was shaking so hard she nearly dropped her engagement ring. At one point, she actually shoved it at me, saying, "You take it. You decide what I should do." Like I was suddenly her moral compass after months of being treated like the family embarrassment. Here's where I might get roasted, but I need to be honest. I didn't rush to comfort her. I didn't hug her and tell her everything would be okay like I've always done. Instead, I told her flat out, Claire, you've humiliated me, dismissed me, and shut me out. Why should I save you now? Her face when I said that. She looked like a kid who just realized the ground isn't solid under her feet. And yeah, I made her sit with it. For once, I didn't immediately patch the hole she'd blown in her own life. I just let her cry. Let her feel the weight of what she'd done. Not just today, but to me, to Eric, to everyone who actually gave a damn. Eventually, Eric forced the door open. Pro tip: those cheap venue locks don't hold up to a determined groom. When he saw her on the floor, surrounded by broken glass and torn lace, his face just collapsed. He scooped her up while Rachel hovered in the doorway like a gossip vulture, clearly dying to blast this on social media. And then Claire did something no one expected. She shoved Eric away and screamed, "Get out! I only want Mia!" The room went dead silent. I swear you could hear jaws hitting the carpet outside. So yeah, that's where we're at. My sister's perfect wedding day derailed into a meltdown where I became her only safe person. The irony isn't lost on me. I don't know what's going to happen next. Part of me feels guilty for not helping more, But another part of me feels this weird satisfaction, like karma finally showed up wearing a veil. And to everyone saying I should play this to my advantage? Let's just say the idea has crossed my mind. When Eric finally got Claire to her feet, she looked feral. Makeup smeared, hair undone, dress wrinkled and wet from spilled vase water, like the picture-perfect bride had been dragged through hell. And she kept staring at me, not him, like I was the only one anchoring her to reality. "Don't leave me, Mia," she whispered, clutching my wrist. Her nails dug into my skin hard enough to leave little crescents. "If you leave, I can't do this." And here's the thing. I realized I could leave. I could walk out right then, let the entire wedding party and both families deal with the fallout. But I didn't. Because for the first time in my life, Claire was on her knees, begging for my stability, my presence. That wasn't just irony, it was power. Eric tried to coax her, telling her everything was fine, that guests could wait. Rachel barked something about damage control and was already pulling out her phone like she was about to spin the situation on Instagram. But Claire snapped at both of them, shouting, "No, only Mia, everyone else out." So they left. Rachel stomped off like a rejected toddler, muttering that the whole day was ruined. Eric lingered, eyes hollow, like he didn't know if he should be angry at me or grateful, but he obeyed her. He closed the door behind him. And then it was just us. I helped Claire sit on the bathroom counter while she sobbed into her hands. "I can't do this, Mia. Everyone's looking at me. Everyone expects me to be perfect, and I'm not." I tilted my head, studying her. "That's funny. Because just yesterday you called me the embarrassment." Her hands dropped from her face. She looked at me like she'd just realized I wasn't here to clean up her mess the way I used to. That maybe I wasn't the sister she could dismiss anymore. That's when the revenge idea solidified. Not a cruel one. Not something that would ruin her life forever. No, this was poetic. If Claire was going to call me unpredictable and unworthy of standing by her side, then I'd show her what unpredictable really looked like. I leaned in, close enough that she couldn't look away. "You want me here? Fine. But from this moment on, you do what I say." She blinked, confused. "What?" "You're the one falling apart, Claire. You want me to be the only person you trust today? Then you listen to me. No bridesmaids, no Rachel, not even Eric. Just me." Her breathing hitched, but she nodded. For once in her life, Claire, the girl who always had to control the narrative, was surrendering it to me. Outside, the guests were restless. The whispers had turned into outright speculation. I could hear Rachel in the distance trying to smooth it over with lines like, "The bride just needs a moment to freshen up." But the cracks in the facade were too obvious. I looked at my sister, pale, broken, clinging to me, and I realized I had the stage now. The perfect wedding she'd excluded me from? It was about to revolve around me whether she liked it or not, and I wasn't about to waste the chance. Claire sat trembling on the counter, waiting for me to fix her, the way I always had. Only this time I wasn't going to clean up her mess quietly. No. This time I was going to make sure everyone saw the truth. The golden girl wasn't golden. She was cracked porcelain, held together with tape and denial. I pulled tissues from the dispenser, dabbed at her ruined mascara, and whispered, "Okay, Claire, you want me here? I'll help. But we're not going back out there pretending everything's fine." Her eyes widened. "What do you mean? We have to pretend." I smiled, sharp enough to cut. "No, you banished me because you said I'd embarrass you. So today, you're walking out there with me at your side. No bridesmaids, just me, or you don't walk out at all." For a second, I thought she'd explode, scream, curse, maybe throw something else against the wall. But instead, she sagged, defeated. "Fine," she whispered. When we finally opened the door, the hallway fell silent. Rachel's jaw nearly hit the carpet when she saw me holding Claire's arm, guiding her out like a bodyguard. Eric rushed forward, but Claire actually leaned away from him, gripping me tighter. "Mia's helping me," she said, voice raw and broken. "I only want Mia." And just like that, the whole room shifted. People who'd whispered that I was unpredictable, embarrassing, unstable, They watched me steady her as we walked down the hall. Their perfect princess bride had chosen me. The ceremony was already 30 minutes late, guests restless and muttering. When we stepped into the garden, every head turned. Claire was a mess. No veil, streaked makeup, dress still damp. And me? I was calm. Solid. The exact opposite of what she'd told everyone I wasn't. Rachel hissed something about ruining photos. I ignored her. I led Claire straight to the altar. Eric tried to take her hand, but she clutched mine tighter, whispering, "Don't let go." So there I stood, side by side with her, in full view of everyone. Family, friends, distant relatives who hadn't seen us since childhood. The officiant stumbled over his words, clearly unsure what to do with the sobbing bride and the unexpected maid of honor, who wasn't even supposed to be here. But the ceremony pressed on. And here's where it turned. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, the silence stretched thick. Then Rachel, of all people, muttered too loudly, "Well, it's obvious she doesn't even want this. Look at her." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Eric froze, staring at Claire, waiting for her to deny it. But she didn't. She just squeezed my hand harder, whispering, "I don't know, Mia. I don't know if I can do this." And I didn't comfort her. I didn't cover for her. I leaned into the microphone, my voice steady, and said, "My sister begged me not to embarrass her today, but she's the one who locked herself in a bathroom for an hour, breaking things and sobbing because she's not sure if she wants to marry this man. She made me promise to stay by her side because she couldn't handle her own bridesmaids or even her fiancé. So here we are. Maybe it's time everyone saw the real Claire." The crowd erupted. Gasps, whispers, someone even shouted, "Is that true?" Claire's face crumpled, tears spilling down fresh. Eric looked gutted, like I'd just ripped the floor out from under him. But me? For the first time in years, I felt steady. I wasn't the embarrassment anymore. I was the mirror, and Claire was finally forced to see herself in it. Update 2. Okay, so apparently my story made it to TikTok because my DMs are flooded with strangers calling me a legend, a villain, a narcissist, and my personal favorite, maid of dishonor. Whoever came up with that, 10-10, I laughed way too hard. Let me clear the air. I didn't plan to blow up my sister's wedding. Not exactly. But when she handed me the mic, literally and figuratively, I wasn't going to protect her this time. Not after weeks of being told I'd embarrass her. Not after being erased from her bridal shower. Not after years of being treated like the screw-up sibling. So yeah, I said what I said. The moment I called her out in front of everyone, you could feel the entire crowd turn. Some people were horrified, others vindicated. Our cousin Ashley mouthed, "Thank you," at me across the aisle. Apparently, I'm not the only one tired of Claire's queen bee act. But Eric? He looked like I'd gutted him. He didn't storm off or cause a scene. He just stood there, silent, watching Claire cry like a child in her ruined dress. Then he stepped back, took off his boutonniere, and handed it to the officiant. "We're done here," he said, voice flat. Then he walked out. The guests scattered after that, some chasing him, some swarming Claire. Mom tried to spin it as a stress breakdown. Dad muttered something about photographers refunding deposits. And Rachel actually live-streamed part of it. I found out because someone tagged me on Instagram an hour later. Half the internet has now seen my sister sobbing into my shoulder while I stare down the camera like I'm on a revenge tour. And Claire? She hasn't spoken to me since. She sent one text. "You ruined everything." Here's the twist, though. I don't feel ruined. I feel weirdly free. Like the roles we were locked in since childhood finally snapped. She needed me. She begged for me. And instead of bowing, I let the truth out. Some of y'all told me in the first update that revenge doesn't always need fire. It just needs truth at the right moment. Well, I guess that's what I delivered. Now everyone's asking what happens next. Honestly, I don't know. Family group chat is dead silent, thank God. Eric's mom called me, of all people, to thank me for saving her son from a mistake. And Claire's friends? Half unfollowed her overnight. So yeah, my sister's perfect wedding turned into a public implosion, and I'm not sure if she'll ever forgive me. But for once, I don't really care. The day after the wedding felt like a hangover without drinking. My phone buzzed nonstop. Calls, texts, even screenshots of comments under Rachel's live stream. Half the messages were supportive. Finally, someone exposed her. The other half accused me of being cruel, jealous, or mentally unstable. Our mom finally broke the family silence with a text. Mia, you owe your sister an apology. You destroyed the most important day of her life. I didn't reply. Instead, I threw my phone on the couch and let it buzz itself into silence. Because here's the truth. I didn't destroy Claire's wedding. Claire did. I just stopped covering for her. But Claire? She doubled down. By Sunday morning, she'd plastered her Instagram with a black and white selfie captioned, "Betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from family." Cue the flood of sympathy comments from her bridesmaids and distant friends who only saw the curated meltdown. Rachel posted a cryptic story about fake sisters who can't stand to see someone else shine. Subtle. Meanwhile, Eric had gone radio silent. I figured he was holed up somewhere licking his wounds, maybe rethinking everything. But then, around noon, I got a call from Eric's mother. "Mia," she said, voice steady but sharp. "I just want you to know. Thank you. You spared my son a lifetime of misery. Claire has always been unstable, and we were terrified he was blind to it. Yesterday opened his eyes." I didn't even know how to respond. Part of me felt vindicated, but another part of me wanted to crawl under a rock. Because no matter how toxic Claire had been, she was still my sister. By Monday, the fallout had escalated. Someone, my bet's on Rachel, had leaked clips from the bathroom, Claire sobbing, me standing stone-faced. The video blew up locally, especially since Eric's family is well known in town. Now strangers at the grocery store whisper when I walk past, debating whether I'm a hero or a villain. And Claire? She didn't take it quietly. She drove to my apartment Monday night. I knew she was outside because I heard the pounding before I even looked through the peephole. When I cracked the door, she was standing there in sweats, eyes wild, face blotchy from crying. "You ruined my life!" she screamed, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. She shoved at the door, forcing her way in. I stumbled back as she threw her hands in the air, knocking a lamp off the table. It shattered across the floor. "You think you're the hero?" she shrieked. "Everyone's laughing at me because of you. Eric left me because of you. My friends, gone. My reputation, gone." I stood there, heart hammering, watching her spiral. And instead of fear, I felt something colder. Pity. Because all I saw was a woman who built her whole identity on perfection. And now that mask was shattered. I didn't yell back. I didn't argue. I just said, "Claire, you did this to yourself. You used me when it suited you, and when you didn't need me, you discarded me. Yesterday was the first time people saw the real you. Don't blame me for that." Her face twisted, and for a second I thought she'd slap me. Instead, she collapsed on the floor, sobbing into her hands. My once perfect sister, curled up in my messy living room, surrounded by broken glass from the lamp she'd knocked over. And I realized she wasn't the queen anymore. She was just a girl who couldn't handle the truth. Claire stayed on my floor for almost an hour that night, sobbing and muttering half-coherent things about image and perfection, and no one understands. I didn't comfort her. I didn't even touch her. I just sat in the chair across from her, arms crossed, letting her fall apart without me catching her. Eventually, she picked herself up, wiped her face with her sleeve, and left without another word. The door slammed so hard it rattled my picture frames. That was the last time we spoke face to face. Eric reached out a week later, not to Claire, but to me. He asked to meet for coffee. I almost said no, but curiosity got the better of me. He looked different, lighter somehow, even though his life had just imploded. "I wanted to thank you," he said, wrapping his hands around a chipped mug. "I was so blinded by her. Everything. The image, the confidence. But you showed me who she really is. You saved me years of misery." I didn't know what to say. I wasn't looking for gratitude. But when he stood up to leave, he added, "You're stronger than she'll ever admit. Don't let her convince you otherwise." And for the first time, I believed it. The family, of course, is divided. Mom has taken Claire's side fully, telling everyone I sabotaged the wedding out of jealousy. Dad won't say much, but when I caught him alone, he muttered, "Your sister's been difficult since she was a kid. Maybe it's good someone finally told the truth." That was as close to support as I'd ever get from him. Claire? She went scorched earth. She blocked me on everything, deleted old photos of us together, and even told relatives I'd stolen her spotlight because I couldn't stand being irrelevant. Rachel still posts vague quotes about toxic siblings, which is rich considering she live-streamed the breakdown to the internet. But here's the thing. I don't feel irrelevant anymore. For once, I wasn't the background character in Claire's story. I was the one holding the mirror. And when she looked in, she couldn't stand what she saw. A week after the non-wedding, I found Claire's torn veil in a plastic bag outside my apartment door. No note. Just the veil, ripped down the seam from when she yanked it off in the bathroom. I should have thrown it away. Instead, I hung it in the back of my closet, half as a reminder, half as a trophy. Because in the end, that veil isn't just ruined lace. It's proof. Proof that the perfect sister wasn't perfect. Proof that I wasn't the embarrassment. Proof that sometimes revenge doesn't have to be loud or violent. It just has to be truth, dropped at the right time. And maybe that's all I ever wanted. Not to ruin her. Just to stop being erased. So yeah, Claire's wedding didn't end in vows or cake or dancing. It ended in a bathroom, mascara running, with her whispering that she needed me. And whether she admits it or not, the only person who didn't abandon her that day was the sister she thought she didn't want.